Welcome back to C.HR with Ariaunstewart. Today I have the beautiful, phenomenal, the intelligent Tiffany Allecia in the building.
That's me.
Yes. Tiffany, we have worked together for a while. We've been friends for longer.
Yes.
And I am just so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
We're going to get into a lot of stuff today. I want to talk about, how you get to everything that you're doing now, everything you've been working on. So if you just want to introduce yourself first.
Okay. My name's Tiffany Allecia. I am a lot of things, but first and foremost, I'm a lover of Springfield. I am absolutely in love with this place. I think everything we need is here, and we're totally capable of becoming greater than our wildest dreams. But more tangibly, I'm the founder and president of Black and Brown Wall Street, founder and creative director of Real Recognized Fake, president of Springfield Built. I do a lot of different things, do a lot of different platforms, and I'm also an assistant director in a school district as well. So I get around.
I want to talk about what led you to do, because you do a lot within education and community work. So what about your upbringing? Tell us about your family and how it got to where you are now.
So, fun fact, I'm the daughter of a police officer. So,
oh, wow, I did not know that.
A lot of people don't. UConn Police Department, hey. So, coupled with being the daughter of a social worker who's also trained in law, the community has always been the forefront of what was important in my life. I have all these memories of helping my mom fold pamphlets for her programs and events from back in the day, or when my dad used to have to shut down and lock down UConn Law School. Me and my siblings would be running around this 100-year-old campus just enjoying the space and the energy there. So I've always been around academics. I've always been around community service style things. And then my family, I'm first generation American. My family is all from all over the Caribbean islands, both English speaking islands and Spanish speaking islands. And so there's a whole different level of a sense of work ethic when you're the first to be born in a country. No pressure, but just like all the pressure to be great. Because my parents, my grandparents, they went through a lot to get us here. So I think their specific career paths and then my heritage really
influenced.
And set the stage for where I'm at now.
Awesome. So when you were in elementary school, high school, you had already had all of this influence. When you were about to, go off to college and make those next plans, were you like, okay, I know I want to do education, or was it kind of a broader thought at that time?
I know I wanted to do something Black. Black people were just my heart. So while I was doing community service, while I was doing a lot of involved things, the organizations I joined, the work that I did outside of Springfield often was in white environments. So I did Leaders Club, I did Youth in Government, and I would be one of the only Black people there. And that didn't feel comfortable to me. And when I was in Springfield, it's not that there wasn't a lot of, I think there's a lot of different opportunities, but we're all in a different places. So it's like I was one of the only Black and brown people doing what I was doing specifically. So I kind of wanted to flip that on its head. And I'm tired of there's just too many amazing Black and brown people to be the only one. And so I ended up at Howard University. And so I knew I wanted to be in a Black space studying Black people. So I went my freshman year with a major in African American studies, and so that's where I started. And in that major, I realized, oh my goodness, I love everything about culture, heritage, my identity, the identity of other people of color, and I wanted to explore that more in relations to our behaviors and how we interact with people. And so that led me to psychology, which then connected me with sociology. And so I ended up graduating from Howard with 2 bachelors, African American Studies and Sociology, and then 2 minor certificates, which was psychology and political science. I could have had a third, Ariane. I didn't have to say. I could have had a third minor certificate, but they wanted me to do another internship. And I already did one at that point, so I was like, I'm playing.
Right.
But if I did that internship, I would have had 3 minors, and the last one would have been community development. So that's when I realized social sciences for me, heritage, cultural studies is for me, and that kind of set my path.
Yeah, and I love that you started with the history, because it's like you gave yourself a good foundation for everything that you built on moving forward. And you you did all of that in, how many years were you at
Howard? So I was there, I was a super senior. I did it, I had to drop out. I had a baby, dropped out, and then I came back, and so it took me 5 years to get it done, but it was worth it. It was so worth it.
To take a break, to have a baby and come back and do it in 5 years.
Listen,
it took me 5 years. I had no baby.
It's okay. It's okay.
That is amazing. And you went to school again after, right?
Yeah. I went to Southern New Hampshire University. I got my Master's of Education in Instruction and Curriculum with a specialization in educational leadership. Then I joined Teach for America, which brought me back to Springfield. And I taught for 2 years. And while I was teaching, I did my education licensure requirements at Boston University. And then after that, I pursued, and I'm still pursuing, I'm 3 classes away. I need it so bad. But I'm getting my Master's of Education, my second Master's in educational policy and leadership. So more so about education and law and how we can change it through the political lens.
Yes, I love that.
That's the education background.
Yeah, no, that is like, and you're always learning, like not just for classes, but also just like what's going on in the city. Even when we were, the event that just passed that Daryl Moss did, you were just dropping so much knowledge. I was like, yo, every time I'm in the room with you, I'm learning something new.
Thank you. So, listen, I study Springfield for fun. Like, I legit, you see my Google Google Drives. I download every PDF I can find on Springfield. I actually set up a time throughout the week. 2 days a week, I spend a couple hours just researching the city, looking at the different reports coming out, trying to understand what our issues are through data, as well as to the on-the-ground social service,
the actual work,
and because both parts matter. It really does.
And I feel like a lot of people, they're either strong on one side or the other. You're able to like be super, super book smart and also show up for people and have that personality that brings people together. And I'm sure that also comes from like being a teacher. Yes. Because you definitely know how to control a room. Okay?
I love it. Yeah. And research is just, my grandmother taught us that you have to be lifelong learners. Like, what's the point of being here if you're not learning something every day? You know what I mean? And my favorite quote ever, I think it's Socrates. No, I know it's Socrates, but it's funny because the quote, anyway. Yeah. The quote is, I know that I know nothing at all. And so, like, it's exciting because the more you learn, it's the more you realize there's so much more you need to know. Yeah. And so it's just this constant, exciting and invigorating experience of growing your mind. And it's afforded me so many other opportunities because of I've been able to build this expertise on this region, and specifically Springfield. Not that nobody else has, but no one has focused on in the way that I have. Yeah. So it sets me apart, and it allows me to remain humble and focused on the problems at hand.
Exactly. I want to talk about, so you have like your career that you're working on where it's more of the 9 to 5, and then you also have like Black and Brown Wall Street where you have more of an entrepreneurial type of journey going on. So let's talk about Black and Brown Wall Street and how that started.
Okay. Oh man. So it just happened so organically. Yeah. Honestly, I've been saying that it kind of started that first protest that we did, which was in around Juneteenth, it was actually in partnership with a couple organizations, Real Recognize Fake, Peaceful Roots, the Black Chamber of Commerce. And that day we got a lot of vendors together, a lot of performers, just a cultural fair, an economic development and cultural fair for our community. And it was also simultaneously as we realized that COVID wasn't going away. Like it was one of the first events that happened in COVID. And it was also amongst the time that so much money was being poured into our community. It just so happened that a lot of our businesses weren't prepared to receive that money, whether it was because they weren't registered properly or because they didn't know, or they had grant writing experience. There was a hole. So at that time, there was no like long-term plan. It was just like, we need to get money in our community's pocket. So that event went down, and then I did the blackout day after that, and then I did, I believe, the mural protest. And so all these experiences were almost back to back. I think it was 3 weeks in between, and it was to stimulate our own economy because a lot of us couldn't go back to work. A lot of us had been laid off. Some of our unemployments hadn't kicked in yet. Some of us weren't eligible for unemployment at all. So providing that space for us to make our own money and share our resources, that's kind of like where it started tangibly. I would go back a month or so, though, honestly, to our experience in COVID and the hours and hours and hours we spent in uncertainty trying to figure things out.
What's going to be next? I was like, I don't have
so
a
much
job. What do I need to do?
Planning our next business move, our entrepreneurial like dreams and wish lists, and that kind of really gave me the confidence that summer to just keep making stuff. And then reflecting on all that went down throughout the summer, I'm like, this can't just go away. Like, we need something more. And so, again, I always go back to that historical perspective. I will never claim to do anything first. It is 2022, y'all. So, like, I always have to go back. What did our ancestors do? What can I take from? What can I pull in? Sankofa, literally reaching back and going forward with that information. In a stronger way. And that's when Black Wall Street came to me in terms of like, yo, they did this before. Like Tulsa, Oklahoma was lit. It was 32 blocks of nothing but Black businesses and just a couple of allied businesses, and they protected it and they became millionaires, and so many people were upper class and thriving in a way that we haven't seen. Specifically in our areas. But then after that historical perspective, I had to also recognize the cultural relevance of the Black and Brown community in Springfield. And while I have my own personal views as a Black and Brown woman that I'm just a Black woman, right? It's one and the same in my eyes. A lot has gone on to affect our history with colorism, with all those different discriminatory practices that was put on our cultures to separate us. And even if we want to come together now, we can't negate these histories, right? So the reason why I didn't just keep it as Black Wall Street is one, I was tired of splitting my own identity, you know what I mean? Going to these type of events in this side of town, they wanted me to pull on just the Puerto Rican and Cuban side. Going to these events, they wanted me to be blackity black, black, black. And it's like, yo, this is Tiffany everywhere. You know what I mean? So I still have to play to either or depending on where I'm at. But at least now there's an organization that's a safe space that all of our Blackness, all of our brownness can come together and be respected and loved. And so that's how the term went from Black Wall Street, even though the inspiration was Black Wall Street, to Black and Brown Wall Street.
Beautiful.
But so that's kind of like the story. And then it exploded into professional development, booking out the mall, doing all these things because I just have, God has blessed me with a vision, and the capacity to connect with people that can execute that vision.
Yeah.
And so Black and Brown Wall Street is really a culmination of doing what we were supposed to do in the immediate, supporting our community financially, and then taking it to the next step. How does this become sustainable?
And I remember, like, even like during all the protests, you were making comments about, like, this was us reacting.
Yes.
But we need to actually go back and be like, and be strategic and plan around this. And I feel like it was one thing to put that event together, but that momentum could have easily been lost.
Gone.
And the follow-up you do, the emails, the checking with the businesses.
And
I'm sorry, your emails are just phenomenal, because I don't know a lot of people who, like, write emails the way you do.
Thank you.
You know, you're really keeping people up to date with what's going on in the community. And even when ARPA came out, right, and then you did the educational programming around ARPA. And the things that you did around ARPA, where people could come in, you created a pamphlet. Let's go through the questions. Let's dive into your business. If if your books aren't in order, what does it look like to get everything in order? But also ARPA provided an opportunity for even new businesses and ones that weren't as established, right? So they just had to really maneuver around. The application.
It's a bit. I understand how privileged I am to have the education that I do, to have the support, the network that I do, right? And it's not fair that so many people can't access the same resources I can because of things that were outside of their control. So I did not want Black and Brown Wall Street to be a part of that issue.
Exactly.
If we have the capacity to know that these resources are available, it's now our responsibility to figure out how everyone can access it. I don't care if you have a degree in grant writing or you don't even know how to write. We're going to figure out how to get you that money.
Get you there.
You know? And so as a collective, I think it's important that we're all doing that, where it's more than just being amongst your peers. You have to make sure you're meeting people where they're at, and in a way that's not disrespectful and not like humiliating and not demeaning, because again, we're dealing with centuries of trauma all bottled up into who we are today. So it's like I work extraordinarily hard to make sure Black and Brown Wall Street is a safe and accessible space, so that we all can come up off of it.
I love that you just made that point about making sure like you're respecting people in that space, because you will have spaces where you have probably people who are like maybe twice your age who are coming to you for real help. But I feel like you make people feel powerful, because it's like maybe you don't understand this grant writing piece, but you've been doing your business. You've been doing your craft.
Say that.
You've been, and that's like,
and that's legit the Black story in so many. I like to explain to people that grant writing is, or the grant process is for people outside of those who do the work to understand what you're doing. And unfortunately, instead of people viewing it that way, it's more of a negative inward view. Like, I'm missing something, or I'm not enough because I can't connect with this. But it wasn't meant for you. It's meant for people who don't do the work, who aren't in business, who aren't actually in the field to understand it, because we could understand it through words. And so taking off these stereotypes, taking off these traumas, honestly, that connects to the school system as well, and the experiences many of us have had with education in general, and realizing these resources are here for us, and creating those pathways to access them. That's always going to be a priority for us, because we've been missing out on so much for so long, because that's how they want it to be.
Exactly.
I try to be careful with my words, so like, because
I mean, this is, that's the truth though, and you're definitely bridging that gap. I feel like you're giving people the confidence and the tools, and it's only going up from here. I love it. So I want to get into, we have so much to talk about. I also want to get into like your career path as far as like the 9-to-5 jobs that you've been holding on the other side of this. So talk about that from whatever point you want to start.
And I love both sides. Okay, so all those degrees, what does she do? I have been in the field of education for a while. Prior to being a teacher, I was in youth development. So I'm a YMCA kid through and through. Throughout high school, I did the junior counselor, dance specialist, counselor, senior counselor, all that jazz. My first job out of college was a site director for the YMCA Arlington in the DMV, and then that built. I was also the camp director simultaneously over all their teenage years programming. So like youth development was a big part of it. I went to Ghana for a summer and was the head internship there, and I led a nonprofit, an NGO, non-governmental organization. And provided health and human services, education, things like that. My first official job, I would say, would have been being a teacher here at Impact Prep, and I was a 6th and 7th grade science teacher, and then I also took on the title of student activities coordinators. We didn't have any after school programs, and that's just like, nah, dog. That's what I was in love with as a kid. So there's no way I was working at school without that. So organized all the teachers to run clubs, coach dance team, did all of the special events like Black History Month shows, things I used to do when I went to that very same school.
Can I say, it's crazy when you go back to or because you didn't go, that's not where you went to high school.
I actually went to middle school there, you did? Yeah, I went to Chestnut Accelerated Middle School. That's what it was called then. But when I got back there, it was broken down into charter schools. So my school actually doesn't exist anymore. Only the building does. So that was completely different.
So there was programming there when you were going to school that when you got back, it wasn't
gutted.
even there.
It was gutted.
That's crazy.
I did chorus, I did drama, I did all the concerts that we had there. It was gutted because unfortunately in education they have this thought process that if you're struggling with math and English, then we need to double down on those things and strip you of everything else. We know that doesn't work, but that's what they're doing.
That's what they
so
think
when I got to there, I was like, we doing something else. And so I did that, and that kind of really inspired me to like, yo, I used to be in the community, let me go hard. And then me and Terrence planned the Stop the Violence Youth Rally. And then I was like, yo, I can still do these community-wide events. And then it just kept flowing from there. So, and then we had the Pink Party the summer before COVID. So, like,
And the Pink Party was like a beautiful, like, women coming together, mental health awareness. And I do want to talk on mental health awareness a little bit too. Like, what are some things, whatever you're comfortable sharing, tips you would say for people like dealing with?
I'm going to answer that. I just wanted to jump back because I totally got lost in the teaching thing. After that is when I kind of went stronger in programs and events. So I was the programs and events coordinator for the Springfield Cultural Partnership, as well as Make It Springfield, and then COVID hit. My job since then, when I got back into the field, I went into Black and Brown Wall Street and Real Recognized Fake Heavy. 2020, 2021, that's all I did. And then I went back into regular 9 to 5, and I became the Assistant Director of Extended Learning and Professional Development for Holyoke Public Schools. So now I'm on the district level. All that, because it's hard. It's hard getting back in the workforce, and I did it. And so now I'm over the after-school programs, the summer programs, special events, and things like that. And I'm actually taking this opportunity to really, really, like, maximize my grant writing. So, like, I've been able to win a lot of different awards and plan a lot of different programs and initiatives, like a summer internship program and all these different things based off of grant writing.
Culinary too, right?
Yes,
I
just got $55,000 on top of the grants that I've already won to bring Breaking Bread Kitchen to Holyoke this summer, as well as interns for the high school. So, definitely in all aspects, both Black and Brown Wall Street, entrepreneurial, and the regular corporate education. Grants is a major part of it. We trying to get this money.
And it's awesome, and I'm happy you went back to that because you're doing so much.
It is a lot.
Career, and also, like, as an entrepreneur, I feel like it's more than that. But
Definitely.
But it's really cool when what you do for your 9 to 5 can kind of like intersect with what your real passions are outside of work too.
Definitely.
And you can like sharpen those skills.
I agree.
It's awesome. So like let's talk about mental health real quick. I know you're a huge advocate for mental health.
I am.
So what would you want to say to people listening who are dealing with, like, if it's like depression or,
First of all, whenever someone gives me the space to talk about mental health, I always describe what I have because I think there's so much stigma surrounding it. So I could do my introduction that way. Yeah. Hi everybody, my name is Tiffany Allecia. Oops, said my name wrong. One more time. Hi everybody, my name is Tiffany Allecia, and I have bipolar 2 with agoraphobia, as well as generalized anxiety disorder, and I have also been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I stuttered on that last part because I actually don't really talk about the schizophrenic part, because so many people have just like, you can't say that out loud. Right. They think you're crazy, they think you hear voices. Well, I do. And unfortunately, it's something I have to deal with for the rest of my life. Yeah. And that being said, the biggest advice I could have for anyone with mental illness, no matter how small, how big, whatever the title is to, one, be gentle with yourself. Like, no one else can process specifically what is happening in your mind. Right. And if your mind is already fighting you, if the world is already judging you, why are you gonna join the party? Like, why are you gonna hurt yourself? Don't do it. Because that's what your brain is gonna be telling you to do. Don't do it. Besides being gentle with yourself, start learning about it. Don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid to learn your triggers. Don't be afraid to learn your boundaries. Don't be afraid to learn what you need. Like, if you ever see me with my headphones, I'm sure you see with my headphones, there's certain points where I just have to check out. Like, I cannot communicate. Y'all could be around me. There could be stuff happening, and I just have to, you know what I mean? Because I know when I'm overstimulated. I know when I'm losing the soundness of my mind. I know when I'm getting distracted from my alignment. And you can't figure those things out unless you take your mental health seriously. And unfortunately, in our community, we have gone through such long histories of abuse that it's not just our own mental health we're dealing with. We're dealing with generational curses, and they're not demons. This is biological. This is ancestral. You know what I'm saying? And to take on all of that on and then act like everything's okay, we're all gonna break. One of the things that's crazy about being Black to me is there's this disease in the DSM-5 or 7 or whatever number they're at now, and it's called dysthymia. And everyone should know this and be aware of it because it was specifically created to define an experience that Black people go through. And it's a low level of depression that is so continuous and nonstop that it's just a part of people's life at that point. And so to think about the fact that they had to make a category of depression that describes the survival mode that we're all in. That's the Black experience that no other culture experiences because we're the ones that's forced to push through. It's insane to think about it. So with mental health, there's always more to learn. There's always different ways to build up your resilience to it. Unfortunately, it is terminal. It is like you're gonna die with it. It is chronic. With all those words in terms of you can't necessarily pray it away. It's a part of life. But you have the power within yourself to build a life that's beautiful regardless of what those labels are. And then find your people, find your team. I cannot reiterate enough how much Ariane, the Avengers, everyone is so much a part of my health, and it's because I'm able to be my authentic self. Like, you see me start meetings and be like, hi guys. In full transparency, I am utterly manic right now. So if I'm stuttering a little, please tap me out. If I'm not cohesive, please remind me, and we get through it. You know what I mean? I don't deserve to be tossed in the corner or locked up because I'm struggling that day. So that's the biggest thing we can do is really learn our disabilities and build our strengths to grow through it, and then also talk about it. let other people in that you feel safe with so that we can create a community where it isn't that stigmatizing. Like, if I have bipolar, I don't have to stutter. If I have schizophrenia, I don't have to whisper it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm able to get the support I need, and I'm able to thrive in more ways than I would have by myself. Unfortunately, and the last thing I'll say about this is, unfortunately, due to our experiences that intersect with the violence that's been against us in our community, racism, the consequences of sexism, all these different things. Black and brown people and women in general are always going to be more likely or more susceptible to mental. Thanks for that laugh. I needed a little heightened energy. So
we are coming back. I'm gonna just tell people though, we are coming back. Usually my episodes are about 30 minutes. You guys who watch the show know that. But we got so much information. We're digging deep into it. So we ended it talking about mental health and awareness. So if you just want to finish up with your points.
Yeah, so what I was saying was we have to be so mindful. So if you look up dysthymia, and you'll see that they describe it as this low grade of depression, but it's actually not. There's more research that says it's not a low-grade depression. It's just our skills managing it. So you know how it's the idea that doctors don't think Black people feel pain, or right.
And Black women die the most.
Exactly. So things like that. It's because we're just so damn resilient and strong and motivated that we can push through a lot of things that the average person just can't. And so when it comes to this idea of depression, dysthymia isn't a low-grade form of depression, but it's just, we've just become so stoic in nature that there's not even a thought to deal with it. And so some of the research showcases that might be more dangerous, because when people are depressed and they're isolated and they're secluded, that's a lot of red flags and triggers that can initiate some help, versus when we're stuck in dysthymia, this consistent, constant, years-long depression, no one's checking for us. No one's trying to help us, but we're still living such low quality of lives, and we're still, that stress is maximizing other issues like heart disease and, all those other things that come into play. So that's one thing with dysthymia, and it's not that other people besides Black people don't get it at all, but majority of the people who get it are Black.
Are Black people,
And then just the overall understanding that, again, we are dealing with so much generational trauma, the trauma that we're in proximity to that occurs today, even just the racial trauma of existing in America, like, most white children haven't had to see a white body choked out or running away and shot in the back. Like, we're constantly consuming all of these monumental and exhausting just realities and that is real, whether it's the prison industrial complex, whether it's the hypersexualization of the Black body, of the Black woman's body, the Black male body. There's just all these elements that are constantly just beating down on us, and we're just like, gotta keep it going. Everything's fine. Everything's okay.
I want to talk about that too, because like, we are people, it's like they assume we're old. They treat us like we're older when we're young. So, and then you have like a heavy, like, school to prison pipeline. So you're being treated like an adult, and an adult doing essentially terrible things, even though you're just a kid.
You're just a child.
You know what I mean? So it's
and
like,
we're not allowed our childhood. That gets stripped away from us. Either it gets stripped away from us by being in a consequential situation, or it's literally our culture feeling like they have to do it to protect you. So instead of me just being a bouncy, bubbly girl outside in a regular schoolgirl dress like the skinny white girls get to do, now I have to think of, no, Tiff, you need to cover up because there's men around. I wasn't thinking about men around me. What does men have to do with it? Now I have to learn about my body. What does Life Jennings say? It's just your sex. That song? Oh my goodness, think about it. It's like how how are we supposed to live happy and free lives where in every instant we're taught that there's danger?
Exactly.
And we're not only taught that there's danger, but within that danger, you still have responsibility to make the situation less dangerous.
Exactly.
So when you're in a situation with a cop, they're creating the danger for you, but it's still your responsibility to maintain yourself enough so you don't get killed. Or you're the girl that's vulnerable, and you're not doing anything wrong, but it's still your responsibility not to get raped.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? It's exhausting.
Because I think about that time, because I have 2 little sisters, and I have certain things that I remember hearing from my grandmother, my aunts, my mom, my head, that at this point I understand we're kind of putting too much pressure on me at a young age. But sometimes I find myself saying those things because it's so like, but I'm saying it out of trying to protect.
Yep.
And it's like, my sisters are they know themselves, so they check me in the moment.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, really? Are you gonna say that to me? I gotta be worried about that. And I'm just like, oh my God. And we end up having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I realize those things are ingrained into me. Being worried about, like, you know, how you're dressed, how you're presenting yourself, dealing with police officers and all of that, like, it's ingrained.
It really is. And so when you connect that reality, it's one of my motivational factors to do all the things that I do, because I don't see something happening and that all goes away. Like, we're all alleviated of that.
Right.
The only way that I know that things are going to change is if we literally strategically change a geographic area. Like, I'm not thinking about nobody else. I'm thinking about Springfield, what we feel about ourselves, what we envision for ourselves, who we are, the police officers here, the education system here, and just really localizing it to, it's like, I know these are all the issues that's going on in the world, but there's only 156,000 of us. How can we get our shit together?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? How can we make this work? So we know we got these mental health issues. We know we have the prison industrial complex. We know we have a failing education system for decades. We know we have money troubles, and we're still reeling from the financial crisis of 2007. We know all these large corporations are failing, even though that's who we keep giving money to. We know all of these things. Now, what are we going to do with what we know? And to me, there's no other answer but to get back to our roots and our individual community members, and seeing their quality of lives, and seeing how we can raise that as individuals and build up our businesses and build up our and change our narrative as a whole, which should then hopefully build generations to come that are also going to be able to live in that freedom. We literally have to create our own freedom, because no one else is going to give it to us.
And once people see that happening here, they see the change happening here, when they go and they move on, now they have the tools that they understand. How do you really get into the infrastructure? How do you help build people up? Make sure, because, you know, like, I remember another thing I remember you saying is that if a community does not have, like, the creative arts, if they don't have those things, then you're living in survival mode. Then you're not, you got it. You're just,
you got it. One of my I believe one of my economics professors taught me that, and he was basically saying that entertainment is recreational. Like, if a community is able to sustain recreational activities, then you've made it. But if you can't manage that portion of it, that means that there's core issues that needs to be attended to. And that's the Black experience in America. Like, we do get it done and still create our art in our silos. And
that's the crazy part about it, right?
But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be after working 80 hours a week, or it shouldn't be in poverty because you can't get paid from your art, even though so many people are profiting off your art. You know what I mean?
So living better quality of lives because of what you're putting into the community.
Exactly. And so we have to recognize that we don't have a thriving entertainment district. We don't have shopping centers across the city that are thriving. We don't have businesses who are operating for decades at a time. Why are they going under in a year? Why are they going under in less than 5 years? We don't have all these things that shows what we're doing is sustainable, which is why we have to take a step back, look at what we're getting right.
Yep.
And then also recognize what we're getting wrong, but not just leave it at that, but build solutions. And one of the things that we always forget or try to ignore is that our solutions take a group of people. We tried creating change in silos, and it starts up a little, it fizzles out. Because it's about the community. It really isn't about whose name is out front. It's about the principle behind it and how we feel and how we act. It's hard for people to... It's not hard for people to want things. Like, we want, for example, a thriving economy. We want people in and out of here.
We can all agree
all the time.
on that.
We want that. But what I'm trying to say is we can't get there unless all these other things are fixed. If I drop 20,000 people in Springfield tomorrow, our downtown would not function. Which businesses are open? Do you have do you have capabilities of taking purchase orders? Do you have the ability to give itemized receipts? Like, the professional development has to be raised of our businesses. That a lot of us don't even have enough of a capacity to meet a need like that. So even if we had the professional development and the programs, we don't have the goods and the services to offer at that large scale.
And people talk about Springfield as a gateway city, as a city that is up and coming.
Yes, exactly.
And you see a lot of people from Boston moving out here, buying up property. You see a lot of big corporations being like, oh, where can I get my foot in the door? So it's like, it's coming, but it's like, how much do the people, the community, have to say about what's going to happen next? And I feel, and that's where the gap is being bridged.
And where do they fit into it now, right? How do you have so much money for these people to come in, but we haven't got any money and we've lived here for decades? That's where the questions are as well, where it's like, Springfield is the biggest metropolitan area area in Western Massachusetts, right? So there's no way we can ignore our capacity. When you look at all the things that Springfield has or has done, the Springfield Armory, that's just in the back of all of our heads. But there's a reason why President George Washington chose the Springfield Armory to be here. We provided the military-grade weapons and ammunition throughout the entire country, throughout the world, for centuries. That just stopped in the 1900s, being an active armory. Springfield was such a vital location geographically because, one, you can't get to us through waterways. We can see you miles and miles away if you try to come up the Connecticut River. We're this close to the East Coast. We're going right Midwest, and you can go up and down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we're geographical location that's insane for so many beneficial reasons. And then we have all these companies. Smith & Wesson was founded here. We have Merriam-Webster still sitting here. You know what I'm saying?
Which I did not know till like
Merriam-Webster, that literally...
We just walked up. I think Terrence was the one who told me. We walked up to the building. I was like...
It's right here. And so we have... There's so many examples of how... one, international business can be successful right here, but also two, what can be done if we invest in our own ideas. We hear about it with the Indian motorcycle. We hear all of the different white ways that we can monopolize on our ideas. I just want to focus back on Black people and brown people, or if it's not back on, putting it on them for the first time. What does it look like when we have the proper investment, we have the proper strategy, we have the sustainability that other businesses have had? And that's just not even just in the business realm, but in terms of our family structure, in terms of our education, in terms of our criminal justice system. How are the programs, departments, policies, you name it, that are in place governing our city best benefiting our community? And until we have answers to those questions, we're always going to be butting heads on what's next, because those are the underlying things that's always going to rear its ugly head the moment we try to create change.
With all that being said,
all of that,
how do you juggle that with being a mother
and
mom, having 3 boys?
What?
And how do you, and okay, also, step back, right? Because you have a very, like holistic approach, I feel like, to mental health, right?
Yes.
To everything like that. And then understanding the economy, understanding the infrastructure, understanding what you want this city to a degree is kind of like also your baby as far as, right? As a project. So how do you raise 3 Black boys
and try to figure out
in that space, but also because I know you go the extra mile with your boys.
I do.
And you make sure they really understand themselves, and you like, I want to get into that.
Thank you. Shout out to them Porter boys. Yes. Adrian, Andre, Adonis, gang. I love y'all. Man, honestly, so one thing I definitely I take from my childhood is the fact that we were always involved. There was nothing we were too young to learn, not in a sense of contextual wise, but like if my parents had an event, there was no babysitter. We were right there. Right. You know what I mean? If there was a community service thing we got going on, we were right there with them. And so y'all see them Porter boys everywhere. Yes. And that's a big part of it. And another part of it is just, I think I do a lot of exploratory learning, and that's when it's hands-on. It's like you put them in the environments that you want them to be successful at. And I want my kids to be fearless. I want them to feel like they could do absolutely anything. So from a very young age, I didn't do the baby talk. I talked to them. I talked to them like they were my riders, because that's what they're going into. And I just took them places. I realized that I actually wasn't as prepared to be a mother as I would have hoped to be. I had fertility issues, and I felt like I had to jump in it because they gave me 5 years to have kids. And I was married at the time, so I was like, I have to give this man his legacy. And so I just popped him out. And to be 100% honest, I had very bad postpartum. Like I had such bad postpartum depression. And I had to figure it out. I was like, well, I'm not getting this, oh, the universe came from my womb, I'm so in love. Like, I didn't have any of those feelings. Wow. So I'm like, what is parenthood going to be for me? And through my overthinking, I came to the conclusion that, like, I'm like a spirit guide. I'm like someone who God gave them to help, but they're living their own individual lives. They're going to become whole people by themselves. That's the goal. And so that took a lot of pressure off of me. And I just have been a part of just giving them these experiences. We travel. We read a lot. We go to different museums. We go to different art stuff. We go to a lot of free things, festivals. And it's just about doing stuff. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to parent. I just try to enjoy my children. And now that they're older, allow them to have a say in what we do. I don't believe in the idea that, oh, it's an adult's world, and because now that I'm an adult, I know that we don't know what we're doing either. So it's like, if the kids don't know what they're doing, the adults don't know what we're doing, something has to give. So with my kids, I try to make this safe space where we're just existing. We're in our own world. Like, some days we dress up as Power Rangers and go save the universe in the forest. Other days, like, we dress up in colors, like he'll be a pink robot, I'll be a yellow slug. It doesn't matter. Like, every day is just an adventure for us. I know some people would think that's weird, but for me it works with my kids because our imagination is constantly growing, and we're not bogged down by all the hurt in the world, because on the flip side of it, you see Adrian doing the Black National Anthem at my event. So, like,
I
do teach them their identity, and they are well aware of certain contexts of danger because of their Blackness. But I don't want that. I think when I was growing up, I felt a lot of pressure to create change, and I also felt like I had to be a lot more serious than I should have been. And while I want my kids to definitely know who they are, have a strong Black identity, a strong brown identity, I want them to be kids. I think that's a part of our freedom that we get. That should be part of it, right? Like, I think that's a part of our freedom that we get to miss out on a lot, where it's like we're just bogged on from such an early age, bogged down. And so motherhood for me has literally just been an adventure of adventuring. We just do stuff together. I don't have a game plan. I don't have a right answer on how to do it. I just know when my kids are smiling, they're happy, and I try to bond with them and connect with them enough where I know how to keep that smile.
Yeah, so I love that.
That's it. No pressure though. Like no pressure, because that's the opposite of what they're telling you. They're telling you to read all these books, do all these check-ins, it's too much pressure on parents right now on what they're supposed to be doing with their kids.
And you can't show up for your kids the right way if you're stressed out.
And you're exhausted.
Yeah,
like,
you already have
I mean, sometimes I yell and I'd be like, I hope that's not the moment in therapy I'm going to talk about. But like, other than that, like, no, I can't just do pressure. Just 3 boys. I'm outnumbered. I can't be, no. So we're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome. You know, like you had those boys thinking about like giving him his legacy, but they are 100% your legacy. I'm just saying they are your legacy, okay?
Thank you.
When I see them Porter boys.
You think Tiffany, Allecia.
Absolutely.
I love that and I appreciate that. And
And you know, like something I remember my dad always saying, like when I was growing up, is that, you know, as much pressure as we put when things are bad, you got to have the same energy when things are good.
Say that.
You know, like you can't always be
we just be brushing by these accomplishments, like but dwelling on the stuff that hurts.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, like keep that same energy when things are positive and happy. Yes, absolutely. I love it. So we have a big announcement.
Oh my goodness.
That I want to get into.
Okay.
Right? So with like all the work you've been doing, we talked about like the grant writing.
Yeah.
Right, in that process. So what is that? What are some things that are coming to fruition right now?
My heart, like Ariane, I
know
just
the shift, right?
I am just so. Because there's just so much good things. You have me all over the place. We've talked about,
my notes are all over
no, not in a bad way, but just like this conversation is so humbling for me because it's been such a long time coming. Yeah. So to talk about family and my work history, my educational background, my mental health, and then just like a small part of my vision for Springfield.
Yeah.
Ending it with this is just, you're good. I like it. Okay, see that? I see what you did there. All right, so grants.
Yeah.
So something I have also been saying for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, is that pandemic economies are filled with money.
Yeah.
And more specifically, our Black and Brown community is just usually filled with money in general.
Right.
We just tend not to ask for it because we don't know how. And systemically, we've been pushed out, right? So even though a lot of money comes for Black and Brown people, it's usually white faces who get to manage those
and it makes you think over time that like it's not for you and you don't even attempt.
And then we end up participating in our own oppression and walking away from it altogether. So that being said, there's just no way I was gonna.
We got cut off again because, you know, this conversation is just amazing.
It's just too much.
And
it's too hot to handle.
There's just too much. And then we got to talk to you guys about some stuff that we have coming up, right? Yes. So we got some great news. All of this work, all of the things that we've been working on, things that you've been working on, like
I said, this conversation has been phenomenal, especially the way you brought me through all these different things because, like, everything has culminated to this moment for me. And I'm not even being dramatic, but like my family, my upbringing, my educational experience, my career, my motherhood, all these things influence my mental health. It all influences the work that I want to do next. Yes. And we have been able to successfully, organically grow this team of people who are authentic and truly believe in the capacity and the future of Springfield. And so with that being said, it's been such an honor to do the things we've done so far. Programs, events, advocacy, policy, showing up, being representative for the young bloods, for the Black and Brown community, for the women in business. We've done so much already. But majority of it, all of it has been on our dime.
Yeah.
And on all of our time, we've been expending what we have to get this done for the greater community.
Exactly.
That being said, one of my goals this year was to take our work a little bit more seriously. Oh my God, I'm getting excited. I feel like I'm drooling. I'm too excited. Woo! So, to take the work that we do seriously and get some serious funding behind it. So it is my complete honor to announce on none other than C.HR that officially, the Avengers, officially known, my team has won the 2022 Creative Cities TDI Grant. Woo! That is a mass development grant.
Yep.
We dealing with state money, y'all. We dealing with state funded, y'all. Shout out to the Bar Foundation. We love you. That is a grant to assess and evaluate the current state of our cultural and creative economy, and our needs and what's next. With that grant, drum roll please, we have won $500,000.
Woo! Legacy, okay?
Oh my gosh, $500,000, y'all.
Yes.
$500,000. And so, really,
Community
city changing, community changing, generational changing, money, seed money, for real. And basically, we're getting financial support to do the work that we've been doing, and also to expand it to an entirely new level, raising our capacity through 4 initiatives, and that is to heal, empower, invest, and sustain the Springfield creative economy. And so, without getting into all the details, we're going to be doing a lot of work to make sure a lot of the healing conversations, experiences, collaborations that need to happen occur. We're also going to be raising the capacity of our community through consistent professional development services, ensuring that our businesses, our organizations have the resources they need to thrive. We're also going to be getting more investment. We're going to find some matching dollars for that $500K. Try to flip it into $2.5 million real quick. You know, we're trying to do a lot of different things, and I know to a lot of people it sounds crazy, but it would have sounded crazy if I told you that a 28-year-old black girl from the North End was about to get $500,000 to do community work. You know what I'm saying? Right. That was crazy, and we bust that door open.
Right, exactly.
So let's think about how we can build this into something even more phenomenal. But the vision of this money is to get all the things done that we said we were going to do in the grant, but also see how we can truly use it as seed money to collaborate with organizations that's been doing this work for a very long time, and to get even more resources in the community in a consistent way, and then utilizing those resources to inspire other residual profitable experiences for the city as well. So it's so much. It's really so much.
I gotta say too, because we were talking about how a lot of the events and stuff that have happened prior to this have been out of our own pockets. Crowdfunding with the community. You putting up a lot of money. You are a mother. You have 3 boys. Like, you've been putting up a lot into this, and now you got the funding to really back up everything. And who better to give this type of money to than to someone who knows how to make it work? Who knows how to make it work and knows how to stretch the money.
Because we've been doing stuff on $0 budgets. So
exactly.
This money,
so just imagine.
Thank you for that. Yeah, to strategically use these resources, it's going to be such a beautiful experience. And I don't have to leave a community event and call my brother crying for $100 so I can get groceries because I just spent my last on the community. This is a whole different quality of life. I am here for it.
Yes. And now you guys know, people out there who didn't know you before, they know everything that you've been doing to lead up to this moment. So when they see you, they're going to be like, yep.
That's me.
Yep. And want to give you a chance to talk about like the other partners in the grant.
Oh yeah, of course. And so again, I cannot reiterate enough. You have to find your people. Yeah. You have to find where you're safe. I explained earlier that in 2020, my partnerships, my table looked a lot bigger than it is now, and it's okay to want to work with a lot of people, but not at the expense of your craft, your dignity, and definitely not at the expense of people taking advantage of you. And so I have to be so clear in stating that I would not have been able to win this grant. I would not have been able to been at a space to even write the conclusive things that I did about Springfield if we hadn't been doing the work together for the years leading up to this. So I want to give the hugest, amazing, biggest shout outs to the official partners of the Creative Cities Grant, the official Springfield Creative Cities Collective, which includes none other than the amazing Art for the Soul Gallery, under the leadership of Rosemary Tracy Woods. We also have, of course, the amazing Ariaunstewart with C.HR, Darius of Visionary Acts. We have Jason Ortiz of Green Screen Studios, Jasper McCoy of the Love Art Collective. Oh my goodness, Hope Ross-Jabaldi, the Executive Director of Valley Venture Mentors, as well as the President and owner of the Entrepreneurial Spirit. We also have my mama, Dr. Alice Farrell of Olive Branch Clinical and Consulting Services, LLC. My right hand, which is also the President and CEO of The Right Gift, which is Carolyn Wright. We also have two maybe unfamiliar names to you, but you guys are going to get to know them very well. None other than the first Brown City Councilor at large of Amherst, Allecia Walker, as well as the owner of Canopy Equity Executive Coaching. If I butchered that, Amara, don't kill me. Amara Donovan. She also runs the Cambridge Coalition of Families of Color, as well as none other than, of course, Senator Adam Gomez, which is, I can't even reiterate how amazing it is to have someone like him on our team. And then, of course, Mariah Lee Taylor of Rooted Essence. It's a powerhouse. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a phenomenal experience working with you guys and building this specific platform that's going to be able to help so many people now and then generations to come, with the traditions that we're going to be building and the dreams and the goals and ideas we're going to be invested in with this money. So turn up to all of the official partners, turn up to our community as a whole being ready to take on this capacity and being motivated to build together in this way. I'm so grateful to have a small leadership role in this work, and as always, we're not letting up. This is just the beginning. We started on a $0 budget. Now we got $500,000. Check me when we reach 5. Check me when we reach 5 million, because it's coming. And like I said before, a lot of people were confused about the things that are doing and they couldn't see the vision, but I hope it's becoming more clear now. And just know my intentions are good, and we just want a happy and healthy and beautiful community. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for everything that you're doing to make this city an extraordinary place.
No, thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being on the show. This has been, you guys, we've been here for like an hour and a half. Getting into so much. There's so much emotion and feeling right now at the end of this episode. Just want to close out by saying, this has been C.HR with Ariaunstewart. My beautiful guest, Tiffany Allecia. And now you know what's coming. You heard it here. And thank you so much to the Association of Black Business and Professionals. They are an organization that brings together entrepreneurs and professionals to share resources and network and build. And thank you so much for listening.